Hey guys, welcome back to another Sunday yoga session. So today is something a little bit different. I really hope that you can stick with me throughout this. So I've been doing quite a lot of flows lately. There's been some power flows, some vinyasa flows, some stretchy flows. And I think it's really, really important that even though there are some of you that are advanced, intermediate, that practice yoga a lot, I think it's really important that we come back to basics sometimes. And also, for me, it's really important that I'm offering something to everybody. So for those of you that came here this Sunday looking for a sweaty power flow, unfortunately, that's not what you're gonna get. But I do recommend that you stick with me throughout this video, and maybe you will learn something. Maybe you already know it. Either way, it's important to practice our technique and the foundations for sun salutations if vinyasa or power yoga or ashtanga is something that you are interested in. So for those of you that are very new to your practice, today I'm going to work through the foundations, the alignment, just a little bit of technique for a sun salutation A. So surya namaskar is the Sanskrit for sun salutation, and we're just going to do A today. And to begin with, I'm going to talk you through it posture by posture. We're going to move through it really, really slowly. And then once we've done that, we're going to go 3 rounds, inhaling, exhaling, as we would do if we were in a full flow together. So even though we are chatting technicalities, you're still going to get a little bit of a flow, and I'm going to link below to other videos that you can do if you want to keep practicing. But like I say, this is very important for me, especially because in January I will be doing Yoganuary 2.0, which I'm really excited for. And those of you that are new to the practice, it's important that we get these foundations built in as soon as possible. So without further ado, we're going to get going. We are just going to work through a really, really short warm up. So you're going to come on over onto all fours. Place the hands down, spread through the fingers, making sure that the wrist, elbow and shoulder are nicely aligned. And we're going to inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, round the spine. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. One more each way. Inhale, lift. And exhale, round. Okay, you're just going to start to rock back and forth. So over those wrists, just getting a feel for the movement here on the wrist joints. And then taking the hands backwards, if that feels okay. Seeing if you can just do some gentle rocks here, super gentle. And then maybe hands facing out to the sides, rocking side to side. Hands facing inwards. And then either stopping here, or if it feels okay, place the backs of the hands down and add just a little bit of pressure here. Just a small amount. Good. Come to sit back on the heels. You're going to drop the chin to the chest. Take half neck rolls, so right ear comes to right shoulder. Exhale down through center. Inhale, left ear to left shoulder. And just keep working through that a few times. Beautiful, good. Lifting that head back up to neutral. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Take hold of the right wrist with the left hand and then see if you can take a little side stretch over to the left side. So we're opening out down the right side body. Coming back through center, taking hold left wrist with the right hand. Inhale, draw long. Exhale, take the side stretch again, creating space down the left side body this time. Coming all the way back through center, round the spine, let the head drop down. Curve the arms out in front of you. And slowly coming back through neutral, hands come to the sacrum. Draw the elbows together as you lift the chest. And release. Okay, place the hands down on the mat. You're going to tuck under the toes and just keeping a nice deep bend in the knees. If you're sort of still in the early days of your yoga, your flexibility, we'll take the feet about hip width apart. You can have the bend in the knees however big you want. Take hold of opposite elbows and just softly start to sway here, side to side. See if you can move the weight into the ball of the feet. And then maybe take it back a little bit and then find that center point, find that balance. Release the arms down, slowly peeling all the way up. Head and neck come last. Okay, so working through our Surya Namaskar A. Now, I wouldn't come to the very top of my mat because you're going to want to have somewhere to put your hands down. So today I'm using my Yogi Bear mat. It has this kind of little pattern section at the front and the back. So at the front, I just stand just behind that top line. Okay, so where we start in our sun salutation is Tadasana. So we're standing, but we're standing tall. We're not like, oh yeah, hanging out, okay? We are spreading through the toes. So something I do a lot is lifting up my toes. Just see if you can spread toe by toe all the way down to the mat. And then bit by bit. So work from the foundations upwards. So we've done the toes. Make sure the ankles are nice and steady, drawing up, lifting the kneecaps ever so slightly, switching the quadriceps on, switching the glutes on. Are not clenching the butt cheeks, but we've just got them lightly engaged, okay? Hands are down by the side, but the fingers are down. So we want to feel like we've got our energy, so our prana in yoga is coming in through the soles of the feet, and it's radiating everywhere around the body. So we want to keep our extremities open. So fingers are open. So from here, we're lifting through the lower belly. We're not sucking it in. We are just lifting it up. Finding this lift. And this lift again in the chest, but not to the point that you're collapsing through the spine. So we want to keep the lift in the lower tummy. I know it's a lot to think about. Softening through the ribs slightly, but lifting through the chest. Always nice to inhale, take the shoulders up, and exhale, round the shoulders back down. You can feel the shoulder blades moving down the back. And just stand here for a few moments, take a few breaths. Feel this posture, feel its strength. One of those postures that we kind of just glide on through and we kind of forget about the technique here. Okay, so moving on. keeping everything else where it is. We just inhale and we lift the arms all the way up. Now I know that you can't see my hands in the top of the screen. Your hands can either be apart or you could bring them together at the top. I have mine apart and then I join them together when I exhale to take my forward fold, which is the next step. Before we get there though, keeping everything else switched on, reaching those arms up. We don't want the arms to be like this. We want to keep them open, but we want to keep it switched on. So it's different when you are in an inversion or a downward facing dog, then you do want this feeling here of being super tight. When we're just standing up, we just want to find a little bit of space. So from Tadasana, standing still. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. And then I either take my arms out to the side and swan dive. In a classroom full of people, that's not always possible. Or I bring my hands together as I float down to the mat. So once you come down to the mat, this is Uttanasana, so our forward fold. Like I said before, you can have a deep bend in the knees if you need to. Or you could have the legs straight if you can reach down. It is so dependent on flexibility on the individual. This is why yoga can be tricky sometimes in group classes. If a teacher gives a cue and it actually doesn't work for your body, but you haven't realized that and you try and do it anyway. So we inhale, we stand. We inhale, sweep up. Exhale, take that forward fold. So here, in this forward fold, the neck, release the tension through the neck. So just for a moment, take your hands to your neck and give yourself a nice little massage. Oh, that feels good. Oh, that feels really nice. Okay, so you really want to be releasing through this neck when you come down to the forward fold. And then we lift. So when I teach personally, I say lift and create space. Some people will say lift to a flat back. Some people will say lift halfway. It's all very similar coming into that Ardha Uttanasana, but just know that not everybody is going to be able to necessarily lift to a flat back because we're all different. So it's just a cue to create space. And you don't want to lift and be like, oh, gazing forwards, okay? So once you've come down, you lift and create space. Either come to the fingertips. I'm keeping my head straight. I'm looking down so my neck is nice and straight. Or you could place the hands to the shins. This will help you find a little bit of support and a bit of lift. This is a really nice modification. A really, really nice one. And then we release back down. And this is when we step back to our high plank. Now, before you step back, you root the hands down. So instantly, my hands are spread, fingers are spread. I step back to my high plank. And we're gonna hold here for a moment. Okay, this is the fun part. My microphone seems to be going up my armpit, which is less than ideal. Bear with me while I just move it towards my face. Okay, so we're in our high plank. So, high plank, it's a tricky one. The variations that we see are things like this, things like this, things like this. It's a hard pose to keep up with. So naturally, when fatigue sets in, it's one of those postures where the form goes. What I'd like you to think about is pushing out through the upper spine. So we want to keep this whole top section really strong. So whereby if you were in the gym and you were maybe doing press-ups, you'd be a bit more open like this. I want you to think about lifting here. Do you see that? So the difference of being open here, and you notice my hips dropped a bit, or lifting. So I'm super, super strong. Because this here, so as much as a straight line is fine, but what I'm teaching here is a way for you to then strengthen the upper body, the shoulders, the core, for all those inversions. Okay, so we're in our high plank. Super, super strong, nice straight line, pushing out. And then we have many options. So In traditional Ashtanga, you would drop down to the knees and you would come to what's called knees, chest and chin, which is where you quite literally put the knees, the chest and the chin on the mat. That's an option. I don't teach it just because I prefer to teach more of a strength-based. I suppose my reason for not teaching it is partly to do with the compression in the neck. Not that for a very split second that's the worst thing in the world, but it's more because I see that there's a benefit there in that part of the sun salutation to actually work on strength. So instead of knees, chest and chin, from the high plank, I would personally teach coming down to the knees, let the hips go. So rather than be here, so rather than coming down to the knees and keeping the bum up, you want to come down to the knees, but keep the hips low. Elbows stay as tucked in as possible, and you slowly lower all the way down to the mat and release the toes, okay? Other options, Chaturanga. So this is a video kind of in itself, Chaturanga, so I will probably go through that in a separate video. I think I already have done. I might link below if I have. If I haven't, then I will do that. There are different ways of doing it. Personally, the way that I've found best and is much better for the shoulder joint, you come forwards, you come down. You do not need to go as low as some people think, and then you lift to your upward facing dog, okay? So they are your options. There are many ways as well of practicing your Chaturanga. You could put blocks down so that your shoulders come onto the blocks, and that way you can kind of get a feel for how low you need to get. You could put a strap around the arms, but the method that I'm teaching with the knees down is a really great way of strengthening for that, because you're basically doing a tricep press up, okay? So we are down. So whichever way you've got down, if you're coming down through a Chaturanga, then more than likely you're either going to go into a high cobra or an upward facing dog. If you've come all the way down to the mat, I normally release the feet out and then come into either a baby cobra, which is here. Chest is lifted, hands are down. Or high cobra, elbows are still bent, chest lifted. And then if you're going for an upward facing dog, you're coming forward. So thighs are very much off the mat. We are pressing through the hands, lifting the chest. Really intense posture, okay? So high cobra is a really nice modification here. And then from here, either rolling over the toes. If you're still working on that roll, you can step the toes back, and then we're into our downward facing dog. Okay, so downward facing dog. There are a lot of things to tell you. So let's start with the hands and the feet. Hands, really, really spreading through the fingers. We're going to be pushing out through the shoulders. So this is what I was talking about when we were standing up. When you're in downward facing dog, you're in a mild inversion. So you've got a lot of weight going through the shoulders. So whereby when we're standing up, we want to create this lovely space through the neck, through the shoulders. Actually, when we've got all that weight on top of us, we really need to make sure that we're strong in that shoulder joint. Okay, so that's how you want to be when you're upside down. And then your heels do not need to be on the mat. It's a gesture of where they're heading. What I much rather see in my students are bent knees, lifted sit bones. So these sit bones like lifting up to the sky, softening through the ribs. So we don't want this. We want to see this. If you can straighten the legs, then great. Breathing here. So your feet are about hip width apart. In terms of the length of your downward facing dog, it's all about learning how it feels. You could do this roll over to a high plank and then take it back and see where you end up.
Personally for me, that's a little bit too long, so I just move my feet in. It takes a bit of time to work out where your downward facing dog is. And then from here on an inhale, we either step or we jump the feet back to the hands. We lift the chest again, we find that space. We exhale, take the forward fold. We inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Use the core here to get you there. And then exhale the hands down through heart center or down to the side. Okay, so that's your Surya Namaskar A. I know that that's a lot to take in. So we're gonna work through that 3 times. And we're gonna do 1 breath, 1 action in downward facing dog. We'll hold for 3 breaths and we'll see how we get on. So let's do this. Okay, standing Tadasana, really set the foundations, maybe lifting up through the toes, lifting through the chest, switching everything on. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest, create space. Exhale, either step or jump the feet back, either lowering down to the knees or down through Chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog or Cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathe in here. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. On your next inhale, you're going to step or jump the feet to the hands, lift the chest, create space. Exhale, folding down over both legs. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up to the sky, and exhale, hands down through heart center. Inhale, take it up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest, create space. Exhale, step or jump the feet back, lowering down through Chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog or Cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Finding that alignment in your downward facing dog, spreading through the fingers, really elevating through the shoulders. Bottom lifts up to the sky and soften slightly through the ribs. On your next inhale, let's step or jump the feet to the hands. Lift the chest, create space. Exhale, folding down over both legs. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Last time. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest, create space. Exhale, step or jump the feet back, lowering down through Chaturanga or down to the knees. Inhaling, upward facing dog or Cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing here. One more breath. On an inhale, when you're ready, step or jump those feet to the hands, lift the chest, create some space. Exhale, folding down over both legs. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands down through heart center. Release the hands. Beautiful. Okay, come to sit down. Hopefully you found that interesting and you enjoyed doing your morning sun salutations with me. For those of you that are so ready to continue, then have a look at the links below and go flow with me in another way. Those of you that are new to the practice, I'd love to know how you got on with that. Please leave me comments below. I'm always really keen to hear from you guys. So thank you so much, and I will see you again next Sunday for another flow. Make sure you subscribe and yeah, take care. Bye bye.